So this talks featuring about you and what you do. So I will bring you all the way back in time and and figure out why did you choose to be an aging specialist. And then in your TED talk, you basically you say that when the people see aging specialist, they look around and they run away, right? So why did you choose the career that not a lot of people is doing, and the mentoring projects and what you do, right?
Sure. Boy, I'll go in the Wayback Machine. When I was about 20, my grandmother became depressed, and I really was close with my grandmother.
Mm.
And I went to her assisted living facility where she lived, and said, "There's something wrong with Grandma." And they said, "Well, we'll fix her." And I
Mm.
thought, "Wow, you're going to be able to fix her? How?" And the woman said, "Well, I'm a psychologist. We can help her." And they did. And
Mm.
so I was so thrilled that someone was able to take one of the most important people in my life and make her herself again. I
Ah.
said, "I want to do that. I want to go and work with people." I used to visit her, and I really enjoyed spending time with all of her friends when I would go see her when I was a teenager. And so seeing her become depressed and then get better made me realize that this could be a career for me.
Ah.
So I went to work at Cornell Hospital. They
Mm.
have a psychiatric hospital, and I went to work there in their aging division doing aging research, and said, "Okay, this is it. This is the field for me." And I never looked back after that. I really have to say that it was a field that was burgeoning then. No one was going into it. If it was an unspoken about field, there were very few people specializing in it. And so the fortunate thing for me was that I got to create what I wanted. I
Mm.
got to do what I wanted because no one was doing it. It was like being put into a candy store and being able to do whatever I wanted in there and choose whatever I wanted. And that was how my career started. And I'm thrilled that I made that decision.
So what years were that? What age was that? I'm sorry. When you said you were in the 20s, right?
So I was about 20 when I said, "This is wow." They fixed Grandma, as they said. Um, I was about 20, so I then went to work in the at Cornell in my early 20s. And I then went into graduate school in my late 20s
Mhm.
and ended graduate school, I think, in my early 30s. So by that time, I was already doing research in aging and went to work in a nursing home. And when I went to work in the nursing home, when I was finishing up and preparing to do my dissertation, I went in and I said, "Wow." And mind you, this is still when no one's really doing aging research. It was still a really new field. I had a very hard time finding a program in graduate school that would take me as someone who wanted to focus on aging because they just didn't have anyone doing that.
Mm.
So I I went in and they said, "Okay, well, you can work in a nursing home as you're doing your practicum." And I said, "Okay." And I went in and it was a 705 bed facility. It was enormous. It was a lot of people. And I walked in and I said, "Wow, everyone looks pretty depressed." So
Mm.
I went to the person that was my boss and I said, "Wow, seem to be a lot of depressed people here." And the person said, "Oh no, we have an incredibly low rate of depression. We have this scale that we use that is a government scale that shows, that we have a low rate of depression." And so I
Mm.
thought, "Well, they're the expert, okay." And
Mm.
so then a little while later, I kept saying, I don't know, maybe they're not right. So I said, "Do you mind if I just do a little study using a questionnaire on depression to
Ah.
see, what I might find?" And they said, oh, sure, go ahead. And I didn't have an office or anything. I used to sit on a couch that was in a hallway that was for, people visiting. And I would carry my computer and all my papers around with me. And so I went around and I interviewed more than 700 residents that were there. And I said, wow, I got a much higher number. And so I said, can I see the data from the government reporting that you do and compare them? And they said, sure, go ahead. So I was able to do my dissertation looking at the government data and the data that I collected. And there was a 44% difference, which was enormous. And
on the increasing, not the
yes.
Okay.
So when I checked it, then I said, well, maybe I'm wrong in my testing. Maybe maybe the test I used wasn't a good test. So I called the person who created the gold standard for testing depression that's used in psychiatric hospitals all over, and decided to compare that with the test that I used, the very short test. And it turned out to have very high correlation. So in the end, that study changed the way depression is assessed in nursing homes, because they found out that the government was not assessing it the right way. And so that study was able to uncover a lot of people who were like my grandma, who just weren't feeling great and needed an intervention and needed someone to come in and help them with either medication or talk therapy or both. And that felt really good to be able to do that. That was what really launched my career, because I was able to make such a big change.
Wow. Earlier in my career, I worked in Seattle and for a company called Chesterfield Health Services. And I was an operation oversee all their 14 offices across 3 different states. And so we work with a lot of clients who have an issue. They need, nurse. They need taking care at home, right? But then when I look at the aging specialist, my first thought was, somebody that help people to slow down the aging, to remain beauty. And now I understand it in a different direction. So, but understanding the depression, doing the depression for your dissertation, and it's part of the work, right? What else is a job of an aging specialist, aging expert, though?
So that I didn't really call myself an aging specialist at that point. That was just what launched my career. Then where I was working said, well, I guess we better hire you now, because now we found out that we have all of this going on. So I graduated to having a desk and a chair, which was nice. And so at that point, I started to really look at aging from a different perspective. And I was doing a lot of research with Columbia University and other Columbia Medical Center and other organizations, looking at all of the negative sides of aging, the negative aspects. And that was because that was really what I was able to get grants in and work on. But I started to say, you know what? Most people aren't depressed. Most people don't have an issue. And it wasn't until I went out to a dinner where I was actually feeling really good about myself and thinking, wow, I do all this great research. This is wonderful. And someone said, well, why do you study aging? And I said, well, I study so I can help people to not be depressed or help frailty or all of this. And this person said, well, so all we have to look forward to is negative stuff? That's it? And I was instantly deflated, because I thought, wow, what am I really doing?
Wow.
Is that it? Because the person was really persistent and said, okay, so you help a person with depression. So all I have to look forward to as a 30-something-year-old is, a lifetime of less depression, or that I won't be as frail.
Mm,
So I thought, you know what, you're right. There's something to this. So I had to really take a deep dive and look at what is it that I really want to do in this field and what do I want to learn? And
mm,
that's when I had a conversation with Dan McAdams, who studies generativity.
mm,
And I really got to see that there's so much more that's good as we age than
mm,
there is negative. I mean, beyond good. So that's the
mm,
point that I looked at um, generativity and how it is that we're built to give back, how actually are happier when we're older than we are when we're younger. It was a
mm,
coin flip for me at that
mm,
moment. And I said, I now want to look at the positives of aging, what it is that we have to look forward to, and how it is that we should be really eager to go through all of our life stages because there's something really amazing in each one of the stages that we have. So what I really learned is that myself included, we all think, and I used to think this, that aging is physical. We have a steep incline and then a steady decline, and
yes.
that's frightening.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said in the TED Talk, people wanted to run away from me. I'm the least exciting person to talk to at a cocktail party
Yeah.
because who wants to talk about your your imminent physical decline?
Mm,
Um, but what most people don't know, and what I didn't know until I started to look at it differently, was that we all start at the same place emotionally, but
mm,
that only grows and gets higher and higher with time. That
mm,
never declines. And so that
mm,
emotional growth is what makes it so that as you hit middle age and older, you actually feel more fulfilled, you feel productive, you feel valued, you have all of these wonderful things that
mm.
you've gained from checking off all the boxes from the things that you've needed to do in your life, and you're finally reaping the emotional benefits of it. And that's where I got to with that.
Wow. Earlier, when you talk about doing the research on depression and talk to the old people who got the sign of depressed, I was worried that if you keep working on that environment and regarding how strong you would be, you at certain time you will be sucked in with some depression yourself. So and then I'm thrilled that you got somebody who in the middle of that research and ask you to look at the bright side of aging. Do you still remember the person?
Oh yeah, I do. I was meeting with, I don't know his name because I didn't know his name at that time, but it was at a dinner party at a conference on the west coast of the United States. And I don't remember the person's name, but he was one of Dan McAdams' students who
Ah,
studies generativity. But he himself did not know uh, the answer to that question. So that
ah.
was a learning journey for all of us.
I think it's a beautiful because sometimes we met people that help us to think differently, and our life and the journey that we've been doing also shifted different way, right? And
Absolutely.
and then earlier today, I read an article by Emily that you share on your LinkedIn, and I'm in the age. I was born in 1982. I mean, right at the age of the middle age, uh, and when you say that we are growing emotionally, over the years, what the secret that can help us to continue growing our emotions despite the charge of aging over years though.
So we're built to do it, just like walking and talking.
Mm,
You know, how we all expect to do our physical things like walk, we expect to talk, we expect to be able to do more motor activities much better until we hit, our mid 20s or so. Um, the same thing happens with our emotions.
mm,
We're built to do it in the same kind of way.
mm,
So while you well, we're getting to know ourselves, which is our identity phase. When you're learning and you're, an adolescent up through your 20s and you're figuring out, gee, I'm going to go to school. I'm going to do all these things. I'm going to figure out who I am and all of that. We then move into the next stage once we know who we are, and we're starting to say, hey, I want to remove some of those superficial friends I have. I'm going to
Mm,
get closer with some people that I like. I'm going to have fewer but closer friends. This is
mm,
when we're starting to have a family and we're doing things. We're working now and what we like to work at. And this is a time when we don't have time to spend time with the people we want to spend time with, not just anybody. We're not filling our time anymore. And we're spending our time with the people that we love, like our children that we're having, our spouses.
mm,
We now have in-laws. We have other people that we're becoming close with, who we enjoy time with. And that's part of the building block of that builds your emotions and is positive.
ah,
Then, as we get further along and our kids need less from us, and our work needs less from us, when we're first starting out, everyone remembers the struggle of, oh, I leave work at the end of the day and I'm so tired because I spent the time doing things that are new to me. Well,
mm,
by the time you're my age and I'm in my 50s, I can kind of go to work and I don't have to think about it in the same way. I've already built up a lot of expertise, so my emotional energy isn't drained like it was. And
mm,
so I'm feeling pretty good. And then emotionally, I hit the stage where I say, you know what? I want to give some of that back. It feels
mm,
good to give it back,
mm,
because then you get to see that all those boxes that you checked, all that knowledge that you got, you're now seeing someone else use it. It's like a piece of you keeps living on through someone else. And
ah,
that's what makes our emotions feel good. So people say, well, how can giving things away that you've worked so hard at feel good? It's because you're not giving it away entirely. It's like there's a string attached to it, that part of you is going into that person. So every time I spend time mentoring someone, that
mm,
person has a piece of me in them. And I get to see that. Just like when you see your children doing things, living life, and you get to see the wisdom that you're imparting to them, that's happening as we start to do that. And that's a life stage called generativity, where we want to give back or care for others without expecting anything in return. So when you
mm,
mentor, you want to do that. And it's inconceivable to somebody in their 20s and 30s. Like, why would you want to do that? That's
ah,
like, who has time, or who wants to do that? I want someone to give to me.
mm,
But by the time you hit midlife, you're ready to give it back and you want to. It's the same desire that you have, that you want it, that you want to give it. And
mm,
so your emotions are growing. There's a huge feeling of community, that
mm,
my expertise matters in the world, that what
mm,
I've done is important, that,
mm,
that I'm not just a bunch of boxes that got checked, that in the end, my being here in the world made a difference or mattered, or I made somebody else's life better. All of those things are so powerful emotionally to us,
mm,
that when we look at people who are engaged in that, they oftentimes cry because they are so moved by the importance of themselves and what they've done. And so that's part of the emotional journey that we're on, that we can expect to be on. And then, of course, when we hit the stage where we've even done that, and we say, hey, I don't have any regrets in life. I feel pretty good. I
mm.
I'm okay with life, and my life mattered, and I'm happy that I lived my life. And
Wow.
so that's where it all goes.
Thanks, Deborah, for sharing that, and I'm glad that you having an emotional journey is always on the rise, on the growth, right? But a lot of people, not a lot of them have that luck to be on the emotion rise, because it's like a deposit. Everything that we do, if you do it well, then you've got them emotions, the right emotion, and the deposit in the positive way. But what if life and works and whatever is give you the the deficit of emotions, then the curve is not going to be like this, but probably like this. Right? How do we have the people to go through their lives and then still can have the emotion on the rise?
We can. So there are outliers, right? There isn't anything. So while most people will have the rise like this, there
Mm,
are some people, like you said, who may go like this and they may even go like this. Or
mm,
maybe they're like this and then they go like this. We can get the higher emotion at any time. There's
uh,
something we call the Ebenezer effect.
mm,
And I don't know if this is going to translate so well, but we have a movie called Scrooge, and it has a character called Scrooge. It's a man who had everything you could ever want.
mm,
He was a self-made man with his own business and servants taking care of all of his needs, and he on paper looked like he should be the happiest guy because he had everything that we all work so hard to get, but he was
mm,
miserable. And so we all know people like this. This
yeah.
isn't, this isn't something made up. But when in the movie, it works just like this in life. In the movie, when he became connected to others, when he had meaningful connections to them, that's when he had joy. So
Mm,
although we have a lane that's like a super highway that goes upward, if you
mm,
get off the side of it, it doesn't matter how old you are. You could be 90 and then get back on and go there. It's not like if you don't walk or talk at a certain age, you won't do it as well if you do it later.
mm,
Emotions are different. You can get right back on track.
mm,
So for all of us, if we get off track, you can have a bout of depression and get right back on. You
mm,
can have a period of time where you have a setback that just makes you feel really badly, but then you can get right back on and your emotions can go right up. So
mm.
overall, we see that most people do have the upward trajectory. Now, on
Uh,
each one of our paths, ours may go like this, but it can still go back up. Ours may go like this. It might not be completely straight, but for the most part, everyone's goes straight.
uh,
Um,
the reason I asked for that is I'm talking about my mother, so the
mhm.
one I hold dear to my life. So she has the life like the man in the movie that you mentioned. So but then her emotion change. So one day she can be very very up into the mood, but if if I say something or somebody say something not in her word, then it might affect a little bit. So in your opinion, how do we help people like that to not getting derailed and then can stay on the trajectory to go in that emotion though?
So that can keep us on that track is feeling productive. If you're just going through life doing the motions, but you don't feel productive, even
Uh,
if you're doing a great job, you're not going to feel good. And
mm,
also, you have to feel like there's value in what you're doing. So
ah,
a person can be totally pampered in their life, have everything they need, but if they don't feel valued, if they don't feel that they're being productive, then those are two things that are really powerful. Also, a feeling of fulfillment. Am
ah,
I fulfilling my own needs and wants?
ah,
My goals may be very different than yours or very different than your mom's, but finding out what fulfills her, what makes her feel valued, and what makes her feel productive are three things that we can find out from people. And then
mm,
we can help them to get involved in those things. So from the outside, we may look at somebody and say, my goodness, you have everything you should want. All of your boxes are checked. But for that person, there may be something missing. It might be that they're meaningful connections. They don't feel meaningfully connected to people. That, there could be something there, that they're not feeling valued, productive, or that they're not feeling fulfilled in some way. So if we address those, we have a much easier time of getting that person right back on there and keeping them on there, on that path that's going upward.
so wait,
Part
I'm
oh,
sorry.
so
Go ahead, please. I'm sorry.
part of it is a legacy. So if we're looking at finding out what do you want your legacy to be? And
Uh,
that's a hard question for some people to answer. For some people, it's very easy. But finding all of that out, that whole package of information, if a person doesn't know what they want to give to somebody else that's going to make them feel like my life mattered,
Mm,
that's where, if you can find out what that is,
mm,
then that's helpful. Some people don't feel that they have something important to give. And
mm,
we found that people from, actors or people who invented things, really high level people, to grandmas.
uh,
Grandmas have the same level of importance when they impart their information that somebody who worked, and did multiple degrees.
mm,
Their level of importance and value and productivity are the same. So,
mm. So,
that's
so we as human beings, we need to have a help from the people around us to understand our, what makes us feel productivity, what makes us feel important, so that we can work toward and sing that to the person's life, so that it makes the people emotional go in the right directions, right? But if in your opinion, if we could not find those people, or we could not change the people in our life next to us to understand that kind of basic concept, to so that they can contribute backward to our life, what should we do though?
There are three things that can help a person, and
Mm,
that's getting them involved in volunteering, mentoring, and philanthropy.
mm,
So those don't have to be with people that are just around you. Those can be with complete strangers.
uh,
So by getting a person involved in any of those three things, and volunteering and mentoring are free. So
uh,
those are free things that people can do. So they've had things like grandmas who go into daycare settings and they hold babies.
uh,
That can be a big change. Now, somebody might say, "Well, that's not a big deal. What could that be?" But you're helping someone to make their life better. That
uh,
is a big deal. Um, so it can be something as the volunteering aspect of it can be whatever it might want to be. But our first instinct should be to find out what it is that a person can feel productive in. And it may be a surprising thing that we didn't expect. We always put a higher level on what we think that should be, in terms of that there should be some kind of effort or something that should have come from it. But it's usually our things that are most effortless that
mm,
are the most powerful for us. So
wow.
those are things we can do. We can engage if there's an older adult who is not doing much, but it looks like, boy, they're having a pampered life, but they're so unhappy. Well,
Mm,
get them out, get them to volunteer, whether
mm,
it's holding babies in a preschool
mm,
while they rock them in a chair, or it's helping to impart, well, these are the traditions. I'm going to share my traditions with you. I am going to share with the things that are valuable. Religion, that's another big thing that people like to pass on.
uh,
Um, Mentoring. So some of the keys that people forget about are that we have our religion and faith and culture passed down from so many generations. How did
mm.
that happen? Lots of times it's our grandmas.
So
And
for mentoring from grandmas.
yeah, well, that should be super valued. And we need to remember that. And that's oftentimes what will bring a person out of
Mm,
feeling a sense of despair
wow.
or that they're not getting anywhere, is sort of igniting that.
Wow. Deborah, I'm really inspired of your work at the mentoring project, right? So after you run all the aging research and everything, how did you form up the idea of the mentoring project and invite STEAM mentors all over to do a free mentor to kids though? And then for free also, right?
Yeah, so this is an aging project. Most people think it's kid focused, right? And it is, because the kids are who we're helping in the end. But it's really an aging focused project. So the mentor project was formed because I was talking with some of the leading tech people. So for example, Bob Cousins, he was a 2020 inventor of the year. He's the person who patented how we use credit cards on the internet, among other things. He's just patented so many things that affect our daily lives. And I said, "Hey, Bob, what's going on with you?" And he said, "Well, I'd love to be able to give back, but I'm so disconnected with others." When you reach a certain level, it's hard. He wasn't hanging out in parks with children. Like, how was he going to be able to give back? He loved mentoring, and who wouldn't love to be mentored by such an esteemed person who's so well known around the world? And I thought, well, okay. And then he said, I'd like to introduce you to Bill Cheswick. Bill Cheswick is the guy who is one of the fathers of the firewall, which is how we're able to communicate, send emails and all of that, and a million other things. If you put your hand in your pocket, he's probably been involved in that invention. So he said, hey, I want to get to kids and teach them STEM before they get jaded and think they can't do math and engineering. And I said, that sounds like a great idea. He said, I just need to get into some schools. So these two amazing men wanted to go out and do this and had no outlet for it. So they were what I would call, they're in the generative stage. They're sitting there and they're saying, I've done everything. I don't need anything else. I've got money. I've got everything I need. I've done everything I'm supposed to do, but I don't have anybody to share it with.
Wow.
And they wanted to be able to say, I'm making a difference in the next generation. They don't have to restart learning something from scratch. I can give them a running start with something. So we started with just a few people, less than 10 people, and started the Mentor Project, where Bill got in his Tesla and drove around and went into schools and taught kids things, as well as a few other mentors. And then the pandemic hit, and we said, uh-oh, we can't go into schools anymore. But then we realized we could do stuff online. And within 6 months, we went from 10 mentors to 80.
Wow.
Just came out of the woodwork and said, I want to mentor. I want to mentor. So we added an astronaut, a couple of astrophysicists. We added, olfactory researchers, chemists. We added artists, and we added, you name it, lawyers, and all kinds of people. They kept saying, I want to mentor. I want to mentor. And it became obvious that generativity is really real, because people wanted to give back. I wasn't out putting up signs saying, please come mentor. They all do it for free. These are all people who are known around the world or have made world-changing sort of projects or things. And so they all come together and they meet up on Fridays, and they all get along really well, and they're excited about doing hackathons. One of the mentees patented twice in 1 year because people came together and helped him patent. And so, of course, the mentors get all excited about this. It's like, they get excited as if it were their own child doing it. And the joy that comes out of this from the mentors is what really is fueling it, because we now have more than 90 mentors. We have a waiting list, and people are coming on. And now what we're doing is we're adding to it so that it's not just the STEM mentors, but it's arts, and it's other professionals as well, like entrepreneurs and people in business and finance, because now we found out we need to take the kids' ideas and they need to put it to market. And so the Mentor Project was started with a mission to bring mentoring from world-changing experts to kids around the world for free. And we've affected more than 100,000 in the last year and a half. And that is we're in about 6 countries and growing. So the Mentor Project has mentors who are fully engaged in generativity, and we're able to see them and the impact it makes in their lives. And they really do get really excited talking about what they do.
I'm truly admire of this, because when you talk about Bob, and then when I saw his picture on your LinkedIn, right, and I was like, imagine if I was at 4th grade or 3rd grade, and somebody comes and then they talk about something I don't even know, right? I'm absolutely not gonna know, what is quantum physics, what is a firewall, or whatever it is. But then that person sit on my head of, how amazing life could be, how amazing I could become. And then from here, and then every single day we're growing. We want to become that person. So that's it, become a tree, become a jungles, and it's amazing. So I really admire that, and I wish that you can extend your mentalist, and then extend the territory, the coverage to many other countries, because that will definitely benefit in the community and the next generations. So thank you very much for doing that, Deborah. And since we are heading toward the end of the conversations, and I want to pick your brain on the topic of mentoring, and that's something that also have a burning inside of me, because I've been seeing a lot of friends that one giving mentoring to another. Okay, but then when I look at the way that they mentoring, when I look at how things are done in their lives, and I'm scared. I got scared because it might mentoring the person in the wrong direction. Okay, yes, because I have really good talents working for me before. Okay, and they all amazing at doing things, but they pick the wrong kind of mentors, and that always put them up into a certain ceiling, and then they cannot pass the ceiling and go to the next level. And but then they're too comfortable with friends being the mentor. They're too comfortable with somebody that they've been known to be mentor, to be their mentor. So how can we help the people if they pick the wrong mentor, or at least knowing what is that the golden rules in finding the right kind of mentor? Yeah.
Well, I think that there's a different kind of mentor for every different place. So if you're at work and you're
Mm,
looking for somebody to open doors for you above you,
mm,
you're going to be looking for somebody who you see. How do you see that they work within the environment where you're working? Are they
mm.
somebody no one likes? Then maybe that's not the good mentor, because they're not going to be able to open as many doors because nobody likes them. Um,
Ah,
are you picking a mentor? Are you looking at someone who you've seen that they've helped others? Are
mm,
they a person that looks like they would connect with you? And
mm,
then once you're meeting with your mentor, you need to have a connection. It's a two-way street. What
mm,
are you helping them do? So as I had said before, that the mentor is looking to be generative, right? They're looking to give back their knowledge.
mm,
So what are you able to do for the mentor? Are you able to carry that information that they're giving and do something with that? Or are
mm.
you just absorbing it and saying, thank you, more, more, more? It's a two-way street. So
Uh,
we can't go into it expecting that I'm just going to come here and gobble up all of the mentoring that you're giving me, and I'm going to do nothing with it. So I would say that first, look to see if you're finding a mentor who is actually generative and who wants to help others and seems to be someone that you would like to connect with. And then
okay.
second, what are you doing in the relationship? Most people don't think of that. They think of it as a one-way street. The street is coming right down to me, and
Mm.
it's not that. Um,
Not in that way.
and that's as soon as people usually recognize that, it's a much more exciting, vibrant relationship
Mm.
because the other person is getting something out of it too.
Wow, because the number two feels strange to me, because normally if I was a mentee, I put under a mentorship with a mentor, which means that I'm having issue. I come to my mentor and ask the mentor to help me to open the door and help me to get through the next level. But now you're saying it's the two-way conversation that I need to get back to the mentor and help the mentor. How could that be? If he's an expert already or she an expert already, and now I'm coming back and help them.
You probably have something that's very valuable to that person that you don't even realize. I
Ah,
can't tell you how many people come in who are younger, who have great, brilliant ideas because they see things a different way. That I've been looking at tunnel vision for so many years. And they
ah,
come in and they say, oh, how about this? And I say, oh, I didn't think of that. That would make my life a lot easier if I did that.
Mm,
There are all kinds of things that you can offer to a mentor who's an expert in some area that you haven't achieved expertise in. But I
mm,
guarantee no one comes into a relationship not having something to give. And it's
mm,
finding what they may need. And it may not even be something that is obvious that you have to give. It might be that your mentor wants to make sure what they want out of you is to see that you're doing something with what they're giving. So
ah,
if somebody opens the door for you, you say thank you
mm,
and you walk through it.
mm.
How many times has a mentor opened a door for somebody and the person doesn't walk through? How many times might a mentor open a door and somebody does walk through and they say, look what I did for myself, and they don't acknowledge the mentor? There are
Mm,
these subtle things that happen because a person isn't acknowledging that they're in a mentoring relationship or that
mm,
it's a two-way street that happens. So if you had said, hi, Debbie, when I came on and I said, whatever, you know, you aren't going to feel so good about me and you aren't going to want to open up. And likewise, if I came in here and you acted like blasé that I came on, I might say, whatever, I'm not going to be so engaged. So we have to, as the mentee, also say to ourselves, how can I make this relationship work and what can I do to be um, you know, the most meaningfully connected person with this person I can be?
wow. So if I interpret correctly, the relationship is the core fundamental things that make the mentor and mentee relationships works well, right? And then, so it means that you and I, if you are my mentor, we need to have an agreement. Maybe it's not written agreement, but it's something agreed upon that how we enter into this relationship, benefiting one another, or contributing to the better of one another. Am I correct?
Yes, I as the mentee meeting with you have to not just have what can I get from my mentor, but
Uh,
how can I make my mentor excel or exceed? How can I help my mentor too?
I got it. Thanks so much. And Deborah, I would want to ask a question related to your expertise. 30 years ago, the field of aging research was very, very new, and you were one of the people that pioneering it, right? 30 years later, how is that industry now?
It's amazing. I have to say it's really changed. When I first started, um, I went to, and this was when the internet was in its infancy, and I went to use a search engine to look up old man. The
Mm,
only person that came up was Santa Claus. There was not even a picture of an older person who was a male.
uh,
Then, about 10 years later, I went and did the same search, and all I got were older men who were in wheelchairs and walkers and who were seen as frail. And
uh,
now, if I do that same internet search, I see a lot more vibrant people. I see that the news is filled with people who are doing things and who are active. So
uh,
I'm seeing a change even in the world about how aging is perceived.
mm,
From it being a fictional character who was old to being
mm,
someone frail and now someone who's living life. And I've seen that research has broadened and changed to include how we can progress through life, that it is a series, that life is a series of stages that we go through
mm,
that are continuous.
mm,
And we don't stop growing and developing, when we hit 20, that we continue to grow and develop. And the research is being done on that from Harvard to Stanford, all over the world. People are looking at this and studying the
mm.
positive aspects of aging, which is lovely and wonderful.
Wonderful. My last question, Deborah, is if somebody would want to go into this field and become an expert, what is that's some core skills or characteristic of the person that they need to develop now if they want to go into becoming a successful aging specialist?
The one good thing now is that you can come in with any kind of desire that you'd like. So you
Mm,
can say, I'd like to work clinically with people. Well,
mm,
then obviously you want to come in with a desire to work with individuals, and you should come in with a core skill of liking people and being able to interact with people. If
yes.
you say, hey, research is my thing and I'm great with numbers, I am great with statistics, or I think I'd like that, or I
Mm,
think I'd like to ask questions and answer them, then that's all you need to start.
mm,
And so if you can go into any kind of area that you'd like in
mm.
aging now, it's such a broad field.
Uh,
And you can also, the wonderful thing is you can start out like I did in research and move to do clinical work. You can move to work in another area with individuals that isn't just strictly in a lab, that isn't just in a closed environment or with one-on-one people. You can move around. It's a nice squiggly line. And
uh,
as you develop and grow, your expertise can change and develop with the way that your feeling of productivity and your values change. So I would say that if a person wants to work in the field of aging, all you have to do is like older people or want to grow older yourself.
want to be a great grandma yourself, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Wonderful.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, Deborah, for spending your time with me and the audience, and sharing your expertise and your works over, like these years. It has been an amazing journey that you are having. And I think it's very fulfilling. I can see it from your works, from the way you talk about it. And I congratulate you for having such wonderful journey yourself. And and I wish you all the best. And I hope one day, Deborah, we're gonna be able to see you in person, and that
Well,
would be so fulfilling for me.
for me too. It really would. Thank you for having me on today. And I would like to say that if any opportunities arise where you are in Vietnam for any students that you see who need mentors, you let me know because I'd love to be able to bring mentors to your schools and to your students.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Absolutely. I will try to put that message out to schools because I have three kids, right? My youngest is in elementary school. So we see a lot of teachers coming in and giving the stories to the kids. And probably with the internet, with the current situation, we can have your mentor project to be rolling and introduced to the children here also. So thank
Oh,
you very
we
much.
would love it.
I would definitely put that out to the market. Okay.
Absolutely.
Deborah, has been a long day to you already, and I really enjoy this conversation. I hope you do the same. And I need to let you go so you can take some rest and ready for the next day with amazing things ahead waiting for you. Okay.
Thank you. Have a great day, and it was a real pleasure. Take
Thank
care.
you. You take care. You good. Have a good night.
You too. Have a great day. Bye bye.
Bye bye.